everyone, it's Shari Carroll for SimonsSaysStamp.com with a card inspiration using a new Tim Holtz die and some really fun Ranger products. I'm starting my card off using a piece of watercolor paper and also the Tim Holtz Courtyard Frameworks die, and this fits perfectly to the size of a note card. I have trimmed my watercolor paper to 5.5 by 5.25, and I'll be using the smooth side to do some watercolor effects in a little bit. And I want to lay this down onto my die, and I have some post-it type paper here, and I'm going to go ahead and place this down, and then I can put my post-it paper on each side once I have this aligned, and this will keep it in place for when I go to put it through my die cut machine. I'll be watercoloring my Frameworks die here, and I'm using Peacock Feathers Distress ink, and I'll go ahead and just press this down onto my acrylic block. And to paint, I'm going to be using my water brush, and this is the detail brush. You could use either the wide brush or the detail brush, and my main goal for this is to make sure that I get inside these little corners and nooks and crannies, and the fine detail brush really works for me for this. So I'm going to go ahead and just add some color and just let it watercolor out to the edges, and I'll just continue coloring this and then I'll move on to the next step. I want a couple colors of blue, and so I have my Vibrant Turquoise Dilution Spray Mist here, and I'm going to go ahead and spray this a little bit just on kind of the two corners, and I'm going to let that set in just a hair, and then I'm going to use my mini mister next, and I'll go ahead and spray this down and let those colors blend together and pool up in certain areas. So I'm pretty happy with this, so I'm going to go ahead and pull this off the sheet, and I'll let this set to dry by itself. I'm not going to try to heat set it or anything, so I'm just going to set that aside. And next I'll clean up my surface here a little bit, and I'll get out my little pieces and I'll color those. I'll be coloring my little center pieces orange, and right now I'm spraying them a little bit with my mini mister. This will help me get a watercolor effect, and I'm grabbing my Dilution Squeezed Orange spray, and I'll go ahead and start spraying these. And now I can see the ink is kind of pooling a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and spray them once again with my mini mister, and this will really help those spray inks really go in and soak into that paper. So I'm done with that, and I'll let these sit and dry for a sec, and then I'll get ready to assemble my card. I'll be using a piece of acetate so I can suspend my framework, and I have a piece of Neenah white cardstock, and I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive to the bottom portion of the outside of that frame. So I've kept all the pieces from when I die cut my frame. So I'm going to go ahead and put this right to the bottom piece of this Neenah cardstock and place that in place. Now I'm going to use my framework as a holder, so I'm just going to add a little bit of adhesive to the back and just set this in place, and this is going to act as a guide so I can go ahead and place my little orange pieces right back onto the paper. To affix my orange pieces, I'm using my 2A glue pen, and I'm just adding dots of glue just to that paper that's behind the framework. And once I have the glue down, I can go ahead and press those little pieces right back in, and those will stick to the paper and not to the frame. So I'll go ahead and add a couple more and finish this up. I have all my little orange pieces stuck to my card, and I'm adding a little bit of adhesive to that Neenah white cardstock, and I'm laying a piece of acetate down, and this is just a temporary hold so that I can start assembling everything back together. And now I'm adding adhesive to the back of that framework, and I'm kind of off frame here a little bit, but I want to make sure that I get most of the areas of the framework covered with that adhesive so that it sticks really well to the acetate. So all I need to do now is to match up my design, and it should fit just perfectly right on top. So I have my orange pieces are on the white paper, a piece of acetate in between, and now the framework on top of the acetate. The next thing I'll want to do is to go ahead and replace the other pieces of watercolor paper that this was originally cut from. So I want to add adhesive all over to the back of this, and I really want to make sure I get up into those little scallop pieces so that it sits nice and tightly next to that die cut. So next all I have to do is just snug that up to the die cut and press that down in place. And now I'm just adding my adhesive to the top portion. I'll go ahead and snug that up, and I just want to make sure that just sits right onto that acetate. And now I can lift up the entire piece since it was temporarily affixed down to the card. and now I have my window with my die cut in front. I'll set this on top, but I'll use a little bit of foam mount so that it casts a little bit of a shadow. I've mounted everything together, and I do have my foam mount under my frame, and right now I'm using the Thanks die from Simon Says Stamp and my two-way glue pen, and I'm adding some dots of glue just to the back of that Thanks. And I've used the Simon Says Stamp black paper. I thought it would really show a nice contrast against those other bright colors. So I'll go ahead and press this down and give that a little bit of a chance to dry. To finish things off, I've added some Doodlebug white sprinkles, and I've added those to the centers. And there's 3 sizes in the pack, and I've just used the medium size. So here's another look at my finished card using the Tim Holtz Courtyard Framework die and a few of my favorite Ranger products. Thanks for watching.